or we don't believe it for anybody. Just like liberation has to be for everyone or it's for no one, right? It's the same concept.
More sinister.
Who gets to decide who decent is? You know, that's how shit can change. Yeah. You got to be like, we've got to be totally careful here. Like, who gets to decide who decent is?
You may have heard of the Great Replacement Theory. If you haven't, these guys have.
No to radical Islam. No to migrants claiming welfare. No to open borders. No to anything other than mass deportations.
These protesters say their governments have conspired against them to flood their cities with people from outside Europe, migrants who will take their jobs, buy their homes, and erase their culture. In other words, they'll replace them.
They've opened the borders. They've flooded our nations. We are the start of a counter-revolution.
The worse Europe's demographic crisis gets, the worse its economies perform, the angrier these people become, and they're looking for someone to blame. But here's the thing, these anti-immigrant movements aren't completely organic. They're backed by powerful people. And these guys are playing their own game. These tech billionaires have more in common than being against immigration. They share a deeper ideological opposition to liberal democracy itself. They say that institutions like the European Union are destroying Western civilization, but they aren't trying to save European democracy. They say they want to destroy it, and they may be getting their way. I'm Mohammed Hassan, and this is Pinch Point, where politics and geography collide. This is a complex story. It involves some pretty dry government statistics, American billionaires, and a transatlantic network of dark money. But how do we go from anxiety around immigration to a potential conspiracy to topple the European Union? All of these threads are connected. But to make sense of it, let's start in Japan. Have you heard the story of the Scarecrow Village? This is Nagoro, a small village on the island of Shikoku. If you walk around it today, you'll see these life-size dolls everywhere. At bus stops, inside restaurants, in classrooms, what you won't find are many people, real people. They've mostly been replaced by these dolls. Nagoro is facing a problem. Its elderly are dying, while its young left for the big cities a long time ago. A baby hasn't been born here in 20 years. An artist named Tsukimi Aono started making these dolls to remember what the village felt like in her youth. When she was a child, 300 people used to live.
What's the doco called? Why tech billionaires are quietly bankrolling Europe's far right.
Here. Now, less than 30. One day, it's likely all that will be left are Aono's dolls. Eerie, right? There are hundreds of towns like Nagoro across Japan. In 2024, nationwide, one child was born for every 3 people that died. It is a trend facing many wealthy nations, and in Europe, it's impacting the whole continent. Fertility rates have dropped from 2.1 children per woman to just 1.4. In Italy, population decline is reaching a critical point. Check this out. This is the number of Italians aged 25 to 34 over the last 3 decades. Now look at those aged over 75, well into their retirement. By 2050, less than a third of Italians will be working, and they'll be expected to support their parents and their grandparents, who will make up the vast majority of the country. Without a quick solution, Italy's economy and its healthcare system will crumble. So Italy is faced by 2 choices: raise taxes by a lot or bring in young migrants to fill up the workforce. This represents a problem for right-wing Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. She ran on slashing immigration, but has been forced to increase it to keep the agriculture and tourism industries afloat.
They're all like, oh yeah, immigration, rah, rah, rah. Damn these Browns. We're going to get them out of the country. And then they come into power and they're like, oh shit. We can't actually get rid of them. Because when we went around the world and stealing their shit, we also bought them here and used them as labor. Now we are dependent on them. Stupid European colonization. There you go. This is what it does. These are the repercussions.
Some estimates show Italy would need to bring in 10 million more migrants of working age over the next 20 years. This isn't a new phenomenon. After World War II, many European nations encouraged migration to help them rebuild and replace the working age men who died on the front lines. Germany's Gastarbeiter or guest worker program brought in 14 million foreigners from 1955 to 1973. They helped Germany become one of the biggest industrial economies in Europe. France and the UK did the same, which is why you have the best kebabs in Berlin and some of the best curries in Manchester.
Yeah! Get those curries. Alright, lads. Alright, lads. Tommy. Oh, thanks, Tommy Robinson. Alright, lads. Let's go grab a curry and a beer. Alright? And a chai.
Similar trend occurred during the COVID pandemic, when healthcare systems became overwhelmed and governments fast-tracked temporary visas to keep up. Immigration from outside the EU doubled between 2021 and 2022, mostly to Germany, Spain, and Italy. That year, the median age of EU nationals was 45 years old. Meanwhile, the median age of non-EU residents in Europe was 36. As older, migrants were once again filling the gap. And between the pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, and Britain's exit from the EU, Europe's future looked deeply uncertain. These were complex problems, but for some, there was a simple solution. Or maybe an easy scapegoat. In the aftermath of the so-called European migrant crisis in 2015, the political right took on the rallying cry of harsher border policies. In Italy, Denmark, Hungary, Finland, and Serbia, right-wing parties swept to power. In France, Germany, and the UK, far-right parties gained significant political ground for the first time in half a century. These parties are united by two policies. They want to stop asylum seekers entering the EU and redefine their relationship to the bloc. In the UK, Nigel Farage was an architect
Chicken tikka
of the
is your
Brexit
national
campaign.
dish.
He sold people on an idea that the European Union had eroded Britain's sovereignty and allowed in too many immigrants, changing the UK's very identity.
We have a growing number of young people in this country who do not subscribe to British values, in fact, loathe much of what we stand for.
Are we talking about Muslims here?
We are.
And while they didn't say it out loud, Farage and others were tapping into an idea growing popular among the far right in the United States. These new voices argued that immigration wasn't just bad policy, it was an anti-white European conspiracy.
They're replacing the indigenous population.
That seems to be what's happening.
The Great Replacement Strategy, which is well underway every single day on our southern border, is a strategy to replace white rural America with something different.
The Great Replacement Theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform.
So what is the Great
Wait. Wait a second. Wait a second. Was that old Viv? Viv from Mumbai? The house curry. The house curry talking about Great Replacement. What? Oh, Vivek Ramaswamy. What are you saying, bro?
Replacement theory. The idea has existed for a long time, but French author Renaud Camus coined the phrase in 2010. Camus argued Europe was being reverse colonized by people from Africa and the Middle East, particularly Muslims, and he said they were intent on conquering the West by, in his words, outbreeding white natives. He also believed that liberal elites were promoting pro-immigration policies as a form of social engineering. Camus said he was inspired by right-wing British politician Enoch Powell, whose 1968 speech against post-war immigration predicted racial tensions would result in rivers of blood in England.
In this country, in 15 or 20 years' time, the black man will have the whip hand over the white man.
This idea...
Don't tempt me with a good time. The black man will have the whip over the white man? I call that equity.
Has even more nefarious roots. In his book Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler says the presence of Afro-Germans was proof of a Jewish conspiracy to destroy the white race and take its place. In August 2017, in Charlottesville, young men invoked the idea when they marched against the planned removal of a statue of a Confederate general.
Jews will not replace us!
Guys, calm down, okay? I'm not I'm not wanting to enslave white people. Let's be honest, they're shit workers anyway. I'm just joking. Again, that was a joke. That was a joke.
Jews will not replace us!
In Hungary, Prime Minister Viktor Orban railed against Jewish philanthropists like George Soros, saying his funding of pro-democracy groups was destroying the country's Christian identity. The Hungarian-born Soros has become a favorite target of right-wing nationalists for his donations to civil society groups, NGOs, and pro-democracy organizations. Soros's worldview and philanthropy was greatly influenced by the impact of communism on his country, as well as the Holocaust, which he survived at the age of 13. But that hasn't stopped the conspiracies. In 2024, tech billionaire and ex-owner Elon Musk replied to a tweet accusing Jewish people of a hatred against whites and linked this hatred to the hordes of minorities flooding Western nations. Musk replied, "You have said the actual truth." He later apologized, but has continued to liken Europe's pro-immigration policies to, quote, suicidal empathy.
There is this whole system that Soros built up over many decades. You know, they believe in open borders, they believe we shouldn't prosecute crime. This is insane.
Since 2024, Musk has taken on an active role in promoting and collaborating with far-right political movements across Europe. In January 2025, he spoke virtually at a campaign rally for Germany's anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant Alternative for Germany party. He told its supporters to move beyond their historical guilt for the Holocaust and not lose their German identity to...
Yeah, I think there's this whole like fear in white supremacy circles about becoming the minority, like you say, vibrator. Oh my God, I said that really fast. Vibrator 3000. Jeez. I just said that fast and yeah. Like you're saying, you know, the reason why white supremacy doesn't want to be the minority is because they are fearful of how minorities are treated. And they see being a minority as you know, underprivileged. I think that's a real. It may not. It's not the only thing, obviously. But I think that is a real worry. I think that is a real worry for white supremacy at the moment, which is being a minority equals, you know, the fear of being treated like they treated minorities. Yeah, it's horrible.
Multiculturalism. Then in September, Musk appeared via video link at an anti-immigration rally in London, where he called for the dissolution of the British Parliament. He also said the country was being eroded by massive, uncontrolled migration.
Whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. You either fight back or you die.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, globalize the intifada is the really bad thing, right? Literally, that's what Elon said. You either fight back or you die. Like, come on, man. Like, who are we kidding here? That obviously, like, the voices that get amplified in our media constantly. Look at Nigel Farage and how many times he gets put on media. It's constant. The amplification of the voices are always people like Elon Musk. White supremacy gets amplified while other marginalized voices do not, which is why they have to march. How can he say that live? How can he say something like this on live television and it's been recorded and shared and has gone viral, but he never gets held to account for something like this? It's insane.
And that's the truth.
Now let's talk about money, because there is a lot being thrown at this movement. Tommy Robinson, the far-right agitator who led that London rally Musk addressed, has financial backing from US tech billionaire Robert Shillman. Shulman is said to be part of the so-called counter-jihad movement, a loose coalition of groups and individuals who believe the West and Islam are at war and that Muslim migrants should be deported from Western countries. He has sponsored influential far-right figures in the US, UK, and Europe, including Dutch MP Geert Wilders, conservative US commentator Ben Shapiro, and the late right-wing activist Charlie Kirk. A number of anti-Muslim nonprofits in the US, the UK, and Europe are funded to the tune of tens of millions of dollars each year through largely anonymous donations. This network of funders has been called the dark money ATM of the conservative movement. At the head of this network is the Mercer Family Foundation, set up by another US tech billionaire, Robert Mercer. Mercer bankrolled the Brexit campaign and set up the alt-right website Breitbart News. He was also a major investor in the online data mining firm Cambridge Analytica, which shut down after accusations it used private Facebook data to manipulate people's political views. During Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, its chief strategist and Breitbart co-founder, Steve Bannon, said the Mercers had laid the groundwork for the Trump revolution. You might have noticed that all of these financiers are American. Why are they so invested in European politics? Two people articulate these ideas most clearly. The first is Bannon, who since 2016 has been touring Europe building a network of far-right political groups under an organization he calls The Movement. Its members include Eurosceptic parties like the AfD, the National Rally in France, and the Swedish Democrats, who want to replicate...
What's the end game? To uphold capitalism, which ultimately is a white supremacist structure. Capitalism, for the last 700 years, Europe's colonization of the world has been about extracting wealth and continuing to live with privilege. And they took all, like Europe in the 1800s, in the Netherlands and in London, and the patriarchy, yes, and in London, decided that they would, it wasn't exactly how they would have done it, but they saw money coming in, all the profits they were making of looting and enslaving and mass murdering indigenous communities around the world. And they thought, oh, we better, relabel all of this. And they called it capitalism. Ultimately, capitalism is European colonization, white supremacy, and to a large degree as well, the Christian patriarchy. So the thing is, they want to uphold. What about the indigenous of Europe, bro? The indigenous of Europe. If you're talking about like the Sami people, etc., you should look after your indigenous people. But if you're talking about like white people in Europe generally, they're Europe has got the privilege that it does because it stole the wealth from everyone else and labor. Yeah, matters, exactly. People always conflate capitalism with commerce. People always conflate capitalism with commerce. And capitalism specifically is what Europe did to the world. And Europe has consistently just iterated on the concept, right? It has tried to make it more and more palatable for everyone else. Hey, 6 Factorial, welcome. It has tried to make it more and more palatable, but ultimately what capitalism is white supremacy, genocide, theft, etc., all of the exploitation as a whole, exploitation of labor. That is what Bannon and his ilk are trying to maintain, that capitalist order of the world, the West and the rest. And that they don't want that model to go away. So, like, what's the best way to maintain Western hegemony and American imperialism? Culture wars. Start selling the whole thing that white people are being replaced on purpose, which is bullshit. But, you know, it works. It works to sell a narrative. The other thing that nationalist agendas do, the other thing that nationalist agendas and nationalist sentiment does, it also makes it easy for the governments to recruit into military, right? So when Europe is on a war footing, when America is on a war footing, and they need to recruit people into military, you have to, like, having a nationalist sentiment, patriotism, whatever you want to call it, having that really high is very important. And that's what's happening in Europe at the moment. Europe is starting to lose its dominance. Okay, it's been losing it for a while, but America has kind of been propping up Europe because the G7 is this allyship that kind of rules the world. And then you have America, which also wants to kind of maintain this stuff, right? Like, American imperialism has been propping up Europe for so long. And now America is starting to go, well, if we are starting to lose our dominance to, say, China, then what are the geopolitical moves we have to make? And that's what's happening here. It's like there is a war footing from the US and Europe, and they need to recruit. And for capitalism to protect itself, it's going to build a shield around itself, a human shield around itself, funny enough. And the way it will do that is by investing in culture wars. Yeah, and I honestly think people like Bannon, etc., are tools of billionaires. They are tools of capitalism.
Nigel Farage's Brexit model and push for a Frexit, a Swexit, and a Dexit. That's a Deutschland exit. And if that happens, it would be the death knell of the European Union, which is exactly what Bannon wants.
The beating heart of the globalist project is in Brussels. If I drive the stake through the vampire, the whole thing will start to dissipate. And that's literally when we take over the EU.
The second is Curtis Yarvin.
Who is we? Who is we? What is he saying? Like, who the hell is we? This is why, guys, I don't think the first nuke is going to be launched from the Middle East or Asia. It's going to be launched from the EU. And I actually don't think even from the US. I think it'll be from Europe. I think the first nuke, I am most concerned that the first nuke will be from Europe, not from anywhere else. Because this is what happens when capitalism starts to protect its centers of power, is it'll lash out. Capitalism doesn't care about human lives.
A software developer turned political philosopher. His ideas have been cited by US Vice President J.D. Vance and German-born tech billionaire Peter Thiel, who's close to Trump and the Mercer family. Yarvin, an architect of the so-called Dark Enlightenment movement, advocates for an end of democracy and a return to monarchy. He says this new monarch would be first democratically elected, then they'd get to work dismantling checks and balances to rule as a kind of tech CEO with total power. Yarvin and his disciples Vance and Thiel believe liberal democracies have become what they call a cathedral, where academics, the media, and others worship the tenets of human rights law and progressive values.
The European integration project for Curtis Yarvin and others in MAGA, it's the materialization of this liberal international system. And although it now exists largely in Europe, because globally it is being attacked by MAGA and by the Americans, who've been the big supporter of this, if you want to destroy it, Curtis Yarvin says, you need to attack the European Union. And you need to help those parties in Germany, whatever the costs for Europe, European stability, German stability, help those parties that promise to do away with all of this.
And this isn't just about ideology. It's about business. Elon Musk and Peter Thiel have long used their tremendous wealth to vie for political influence. When they co-founded PayPal, their ambitions extended far beyond creating a digital payment platform.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through a technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
Thiel went on to found his next big startup, Palantir, in 2003. It has since used AI and data mining to allow US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, to surveil and deport undocumented migrants. And Musk's takeover of X saw a sharp increase in the spread of misinformation about migrant-related crime across Europe.
Yeah, so it's a complete lie what Peter Thiel said. Either he's convinced himself of it, or either he convinced himself of it before and now is starting to realize that technology alone isn't enough. It's got to be technology laced with politics. It has to be technology laced with politics and culture wars.